Live, live, live.
Better than being deadity dead dead.
Yeah, exactly. So, Decades of Doom. We're
That
gonna,
should be that should be the name of a Doom compilation. The
yeah,
Decades of Doom.
yeah, and actually, I don't think I have any Doom compilations. There's got to be some out there, and if not,
I
maybe,
don't,
maybe we can one out.
I don't have any.
I can think of a lot of Doom bands that don't have any of their material on, or little of their material on record. That a good comp. Actually, now that I think about it, I think Lee Doran, he had maybe Dark Passages. I think there was one from the very early 90s. Who else would have had one? Oh,
I think Peaceville had
yeah.
some comps.
Actually, one of the bands I'm going to be sharing out. That's how I discovered them, was through a comp. But I
Yeah.
can't think of many. Most of the comp cover thrash and
Or death metal. Yeah.
yeah, the Metal Blade, classic era in the 80s.
Yeah. Metal Massacre stuff.
Yeah. So anybody that's watching this later after it's not live, we're going to be doing a band starting with the 1970s, showing a band favorite album, then the 80s, 90s, 2000, and we'll hit the 210 to 220, and then throw in some honorable mentions at the end and talk Doom.
I'll get us started on some recent stuff. Gotten through it twice. I do feel like I don't want to give too much away because I do intend in January to do last January or this January rather. I did um, like a review of not really a review, but more like a grading of the year before's releases that came out. So
Mhm.
I plan on doing. I didn't get as a lot that came out this year, so I won't go into too much depth with it. So, but two listens through, I do feel like there's some kind of um, going through the stages of the band's career
Mhm.
going on in the album. Like I hear a lot of low, I hear a lot of formation of damnation, a lot of stuff that was post original lineup. Um, so I, the the one ballad meant to be is really hasn't really caught on yet with me yet. And I don't really necessarily know if it will. I don't always look for testament for their ballads. Um, so we'll see how that maybe eventually grows on me.
Yeah, I just got my copy in the mail, I think 2 days ago. I have not given it its first spin yet, but it's in the living room waiting to be played.
And then one that I contemplated for this video, but I had already grabbed my 2010s at the time. Um, One I listened to earlier today, Selenial by Aluna. These guys are a UK doom band, female vocals. I believe they've always had female vocals, but they haven't had. I think they've had at least two singers that I know of. Um, and this is kind of bordering traditional doom, venturing into the gothic doom territory, kind of like a mixture of the two, where it's not so much one as it is the other. I actually got these through a CD that I actually got there from one of my local stores, and then I bought this at a record shop in Greenville, and I had really liked the CD that I picked. I can't think of the name of it right offhand, but um, really just kind of, especially early on with the riffs, there's very much a Sabbath type feel to the riffs, and it's kind of almost like a female Black Sabbath, really. Um, on this record.
There seems to be a lot of doom bands and some stoner bands now with female lead singers. I'm seeing a lot more online.
Yeah. I
Uh,
think it doesn't Castle Rat have a female singer?
Don't know. I've not listened to them,
Then
but
you need to check them out.
yeah, I
I
can
think they either
see them.
just put out or they're about to put out their second album.
Yeah, I've seen folks posting one of their albums online, but I've not had a chance to explore them. So yeah, I'll have to check that one out that you just showed. All right, some new ones in my collection, and this one's a boot. And, I had posted this I think last week. Misfits, Cut from the Crypts.
I remember that.
So yeah, this was originally I think a CD. I don't know if it was ever on cassette, but it came out. It was after the second uh, Michael Graves. So he was the guy that they brought in during the, I guess maybe the late '90s, early 2000s. I got to see the band with fronting in Tampa, and Anthrax and Cannibal Corpse opened up, and then Misfits were the headliners, and they were great. This is kind of, I guess, some demos and some unreleased tracks, maybe some songs that showed on some I don't know, soundtracks or compilations. But yeah, this one's been ran. I think maybe it was released in Europe. The cover was slightly different, black and white center. Obviously, Pusshead, who did a bunch of the Metallica drawings.
Right. Oh yeah.
Love his artwork. It's always got those kooky skeleton figures
With bandages and everything.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yep.
And another new one. I've not posted this one yet. I've not listened to it, but it is a brand new release from Ice Earth. Got it from Greece, and it's Rock Hard Festival.
Okay.
Not very original name, but
Well,
used this artwork. I think Schaefer used it for one of his books a few years ago. So it's a wraparound gatefold, 2 discs, and I believe this is Tim Owens, if
okay.
I remember correctly. And it's
Yeah.
clear, translucent blue vinyl, so it should be good.
Yeah, the one I have is the from the Bang Your Head Festival with Stu Block on vocals.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good one too. I've never heard any live that I didn't like, whether it was the DVD or the live CDs. They're always killer live.
A couple people saying hi.
Hello,
Yeah,
hello.
they're live in Athens is probably easy, like a top 10
Yeah.
live album for me.
Yep. I've got that one on CD. I got it when it first came out on Century Media, the 3-disc set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, probably their best. All right. Well, I guess we will start in the past. Let's go back as far as we can. I'm sure we could have, we could have cheated and done some 1960s proto doom. Where we're metal guys online are always talking about, oh, this band had shades of Sabbath before Sabbath was doing their thing, and whether Blue Cheer and Cream, but yeah, I think it made more sense starting with the 70s.
Definitely.
So if you're okay with it, we'll go ahead and start with you.
All right. So I'm pretty sure we both had the same band in mind for 70s.
Probably.
So I mean, the band that started everything that we basically listened to. They created metal and doom simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna go with their third record, which is my favorite, Master of Reality from Black Sabbath.
Great one.
I really feel like this is probably the blueprint. I feel like the first 4 Sabbath albums are the doom metal blueprint, and I think this one more specifically is the stoner blueprint. Really,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, just fantastic songs. Children of the Grave, which is a top 5 song for me, for Black Sabbath. This is just it goes away from the gloom a little bit, still keeps the doomy thing going, but songs like Sweet Leaf, Solitude, Into the Void, just really great. The riffs that are going on in this album, um, and that's majority. I mean, Paranoid's really, really great. Volume 4 is really, really great.
Mhm.
I that this one is always just kind of, it resonates with me a little bit more than those two.
Yeah, of course, yeah, there really wasn't much else to go with during the 70s. So a lot of the bands were in their stages, maybe, doing demo work, but actual releases, it was kind of hard not to start with Sabbath. So, first album, especially Black Sabbath itself, just
Yep.
killer track. Very doomy. Of course, Paranoid had its fair share of songs, Hand of Doom being that, obvious one. But aside from the title of the song, there, plenty of Doom riffs in that album. Master of Reality, yeah, one of their best. But I had to go with, maybe not track by track, my favorite of the Sabbath albums, but the first time I heard Wheels of Confusion, and that, to me, that's one of their heaviest, just
Hmm.
dirgiest songs. Um, Supernaut's great, Under the Sun. Uh,
Cornucopia.
yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
Wheels of Confusion,
Snowblind.
it's, yeah. So this one, I think of the early Doom. Not to say, obviously the three predecessors all have their share of Doom, but this one, yeah, and the iconic Ozzy cover there. There's been other bands, Church of Misery. I know you had put
Yeah.
theirs, and they did a volume 2, which I think was demo material, but they used that. And Peaceville did. We were
Hmm.
talking about a comp, and I know that they had used that image. So yeah, iconic.
And it's such a simple image that you don't really necessarily expect that it would have been used that many times
Hmm.
by other bands. But that's just, I think, um, that speaks to the enduring nature of the band. The you always say, what's a band that's always going to stand the test of time? And Black Sabbath has always stood that test of time. And I think that's just, I think it's probably the simplest thing to kind of emulate, because I don't know if anybody's trying to go with the, nobody's going to try to copy the original first, Sabbath cover, or, Paranoid or anything like that. But so I think that just kind of, um, because I think it's a simple album cover, and Black Sabbath, in my opinion, not to take away from any of the skill of the band members, but they're just such a, like, the album cover is like, this is who we are, because the music is, this is who we are. You're not, going to get any kind of confusion out of, wondering what they're going to be. So I think that's probably why a lot of bands have, tried to cover that specific album cover.
Yeah, certainly not Sabotage.
Yeah,
Or Warrant
or
is,
Technical Ecstasy. I don't think that's going to go down well.
yeah, no. All
All
right. So
right.
this is probably where we're going to split a little bit. I'm sure
Yeah, yeah.
we'll have any.
So I would be remiss if I did not include my favorite band of all time. So in 1986, it's been well documented that was a huge year for thrash. All the great thrash albums that came out in 1986, and other metal albums that came out in 86. But a new genre was born when Candlemass released their debut and made epic doom metal from basically this album title, Epicus Doomicus Metallicus. It's not my favorite um, Doom album, but I feel like it's the essential one if I'm talking about the 80s, just because this is what started the epic Doom genre that so many other bands attempted to emulate, but never came close, in my opinion. The first time I ever heard them, there was a medley cover of Black Sabbath songs.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, what is this? And then I started diving into their original material, and I was like, oh, this is like one of the best things ever. Um, they don't have a bad album, not a bad EP. Um, Even the album that wasn't supposed to be a Candlemass album was still pretty good.
Yeah.
Uh, so, 6 songs, but it's like around 40 something minutes. Excellent debut. I'd probably go top 15 or so metal debut albums.
Excellent choice. So I'm going to go back a year and to 84, or is that 1 year would be
85.
1985. A band that could have covered in the 70s, but they didn't have anything actually official. There was, lots of boots, and of course, later there was material released from their 70s material, and I'm sure anybody watching that's familiar with doom metal knows exactly who I'm talking about.
Yep.
And so yeah, this one, of course, what I'm holding in my hands is the later pressing, later album cover. This one came out in, I think, 93, 94. A slightly different mix, a different order of the songs, but the original mix from the Pentagram titled album, and that I think was only released on record. That was actually demo tracks from all your sins, I believe was the title, and I think that went back to when they were Death Row. So Bobby
Mhm.
Spring had started Pentagram late 60s, 70s, and then the band morphed into Death Row when Victor Griffin came on board.
Mhm.
And at some point they were like, let's just go back to calling ourselves Pentagram. But yeah, the Sign of the Wolf was the first song I heard from them on a comp. We were talking about that earlier. And I thought, wow, this is different. I mean, I couldn't Bobby's voice, like, I don't know. When I finally saw him years later, I was like, that's not what I pictured the guy looking like.
Right. Yeah.
This mental image of him being younger and some, just totally different. But um Bobby obviously was he's out front, he's the singer, but uh another kind of like Ozzy. Pentagram wouldn't be who they are if it wasn't
Yeah.
for Bobby and just his personality and
Yeah. Bobby
that,
looks like he had attempted to be in wizard school and he got kicked out for being too crazy.
yeah, yeah.
And the and
He's
the
a tough
memes
guy.
from earlier this year don't help.
And I've seen Bobby at his best live, and I've seen Bobby at his worst when he could barely stand, not on stage. Well, I take that back. He did get up on stage to sing with another band, but he had no business being up there. he was.
Right.
We won't say what he was on at the time, but he was in pretty poor condition.
He probably didn't know what he was on at the time.
Yeah, I don't know, but I still haven't gotten the new album yet. I need to.
It's really good. I have it, and it's really good.
I've seen nothing but good reviews on that one. Yeah, Death Row, All Your Sins. Of course, they pulled in, I think, some older $20 Spin was an older track. The Ghoul, Relentless. Ugh, it's just there's some of the other albums that came out after that one are really good, but I don't know that anything will touch that.
Yeah.
And like we said earlier, hard. There were a bunch of other bands, Candlemass and some others on there that
Saint Vitus.
yeah, yeah, St. Vitus. I mean, I got into them also later, probably early, maybe 91, 92, and I tracked down the comp album that they had, or the greatest hits. And
Mhm.
yeah, I was like, oh, this is, yeah, Sabbath worship, but you knew
Absolutely.
they
Yeah.
weren't copying them.
All right, for 90s, like we were talking about before, man, this one was so hard because you had
Mm.
You had the birth of Stoner, you had the birth of sludge, you had you know Death
Yep.
Doom was starting around that time, and
Yep.
you know Typo Negative, whatever kind of doom you want to call that, was going on at the time.
Goth Doom.
Right. Uh, as I joked with Carcass John, industrial goth doom. So, but I'm going to go to Australia for this one. 1993 or 94, I think. It was their only full length studio. They did a couple demos. There would be an offshoot band later that would come out that was just about as good. And I'm talking about
My wife's
like
favorite death band.
like this album. The album cover is not going to describe what it is. It really won't. But disembowelment, transistence into the peripheral, the oh, man, like if you want to know what Death Doom is, like pure Death Doom, not including
Mhm.
any like clean vocals or anything like that, this is the album.
That's
And
it.
I would even go as far to venture to say that it was probably the very first Funeral Doom album
Yeah.
because it was even slower than normal Death Doom even in the 90s because you had My Dying Bride and Paradise Lost and what's that? How do you pronounce that? Anathema or
Hmm.
what? Anthema or whatever. But these guys were like even slower than that.
Yeah.
And there was like literally no melodicness to it. There was no clean vocals or anything to it. And this would definitely be one of the 10 albums my wife cannot stand. This is
Yeah.
one of the ones that I play where she's like, he sounds angry. Well, yeah, probably either angry or very depressed, giving this style of music. Um, and then there was I don't know how many albums. An offshoot band called Inverloke. Um, I have one of their records as well. I got both of those from Ron. He sold this to me when he was getting rid of his extreme metal stuff. Um, but like to me, it's the blueprint for slow and heavy at the same time, and then adding that very extreme vocal style.
Yeah. The only band that I could kind of put not side by side, but similar to that, that band from that time period would be Winter out of New
Yeah.
York, but they
Yep.
were much more raw. Um,
Mhm.
I prefer Disembowelment over them. They've got, like you said, I don't know. It's not melody, but it's I don't know. It's probably just the recording.
It,
They imagine they sunk more money, had a better studio.
yeah.
Songs are
There's a lot of
together.
dissonance to the record.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Not to take away from Winter, but yeah, it's
And if I had any physical copies of Winter, I may have even snuck that in. But I was like, when I thought about '90s, I was like, it was like a couple sludge bands I was thinking of. I was thinking like Acid Bath and Crowbar, but I was like, let me go something, just like way out there in the doom spectrum for that one.
yeah, yeah. That's a good one. So mine, definitely different. So yeah, we're talking, obviously Doom here, and we've already hit on some kind of subgenres. So this one would, I guess, originally this band was um, Doom Death. A lot more of the Doom vocals, still some or Death vocals on the earlier first release EPs. This one is where things slowed down a little bit, became a little bit more some gothic overtones, or maybe more than overtones. I know it's a band that you've listened to. I think you've posted this album. I got into them on their second one. I picked it up on CD, and from there, I think the next decade, I was buying everything that they released. Uh, Sold off a bunch of my CDs, got rid of them, and then I had to buy this one again. It's one of my favorites from the UK Doom band. So the ones that you mentioned, love Paradise Lost, but as far as Doom Death with a lot of gothic, I mean, you this album, of course, wouldn't be the same without the violin.
Hmm.
I mean, back then he was violin player was a key part of the band, and I can even the "Sear Me" song, I can hear it going in my head right now. That just mournful playing of the violin, and so
Yeah,
yeah, off moments, and then you got your it's like the soundtrack to a horror film. It picks up
it
pace,
really, yeah,
gets really atmospheric, and Aaron singing. Even with this, maybe being his first the beginning of actual singing and not just growling.
right,
Great voice. I know. I guess as of recent, not in the band any longer, but
right. And I was just about to add, like, I think that's going to be very interesting moving forward because it's different when you just replace a vocalist, but when you replace like the songwriter of your band, basically,
yeah.
it'd be like Metallica, you're replacing James Hetfield.
Mhm.
Like, it, um, it's one thing to kind of pull the stuff off live, the old stuff. I just don't know what the new material, what direction that's going to go in, how that's going to really work out. Um, so I mean, that remains to be seen. I mean, and from what I read, it had been coming for a little while, and he'd been away from the band for a couple of years, and they were just kind of like, we didn't know, are you in there, or are you out? And he was, I guess he just was like, either it was him that said he were done, or they were like, we're done waiting on you.
Yeah.
Either way, um,
He's going to be back. I mean,
oh,
when he
oh yeah,
comes
yeah,
back,
he's got stuff brewing, yeah.
yeah, he's been posting. I've been seeing stuff on Facebook popping up from his actual page. And yesterday, he posted a picture of him and three of the past members of the band. Some that I think were in the band originally. Um,
Mhm.
they all look old because older than me, and I look old. So, yeah, but he may end up doing something with those guys just to kind of
Right.
relive the glory days.
And I think he had a project that he was already doing stuff with during this little kind of 2-year hiatus from My Dying Bride. So, you know, I'll, it'll be interesting to see kind of like which one's going to be better, what Aaron does, and what My Dying Bride does. It's
Yeah.
just kind of like when Ripper replaced Halford and Priest, and then when Halford first came back to metal, Priest released Demolition and he released Resurrection, and Resurrection was infinitely better than the Demolition was. So I think in the Death Doom world, or even in the Doom world, just in general, I think that dichotomy might exist kind of to that level.
Hmm. Yeah, and I've got to go back and pick up some of the more recent, maybe the last 15 to 20 years for My Dying Bride because I've not heard anything. Uh,
Mhm. They
I
put one out last year. Yeah, they,
I know
they put one out last year. I cannot remember the name of it, but it was really good.
yeah, I'll have to explore some of their.
And I think it was not long after that was when he started to distance himself from the band, because I don't think they did a tour immediately after that release.
Mm, which yeah, most bands aren't going to be. I mean, if it was during COVID, that makes sense, but most bands they something new. They want to get out there and promote it,
Right. Yeah.
play the music, and so I would imagine there were some members that wanted to get on with it.
All right. My 2000s pick is from 2006, and it's another debut. And I'm going more, I guess this goes more into the stoner realm again. Um, this band, I believe, is out of Texas, and they are not to be confused with a Canadian band of just about the same name, except "the" is included, and it's Age of Winters by The Sword. And I have a few of theirs, and man, their stuff is just so in pocket. Like, like to me, like maybe probably two of my favorite bands in this style are them and Caius, because there's so much of just like a groove and almost like a jazzy kind of feel to what they're doing in it. Um, these guys are absolutely terrific. I want to say they're putting out one last record. Um, but I have like four of them, 4 or 5.
I've
These
got to
guys,
I've never heard any of their music. I've seen their albums. I'm familiar with that one and a bunch of the ones that came after, but just I never sprang. Were they on 20 bucks spin as far as their
uh,
early?
this is on looks like Commando Records, but it's KEM. Hold on, wait, that might not be right. KEMADO. So maybe
Okay.
Commando Records.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. I know I've got one or two bands on.
Yeah, out of Brooklyn.
Yeah. I know that album is pretty well I don't know, revered. I mean,
Yeah, it
a
is.
lot of people bring it up. I mean, even in the last year, maybe 2 years, I've heard at least two people reference that band. So I need to check them out.
Yeah, they're a band I like a lot. I got into them. Um, I want to say before I started collecting. I'm pretty sure before I started collecting vinyl, I had got into them through streaming. I want to say Ron might have been the one that kind of tipped me off to them. He is a Doom connoisseur of sorts.
Yeah. Yeah. So the 2000s, I'm trying to think. Early to mid 2000s, I started getting back into vinyl, and it was Doom. Ultimately, that was kind of drawing me. Picking up Earth and the Melvins, and
Yeah.
score some of their more doomier stuff, and then I started picking up more Pentagram and Trouble and all that. And so, but living in Florida, at least on the East Coast, I don't remember any Doom bands in particular coming down there touring.
Hmm.
But I started buying patches and I was starting up, my battle jacket with some Doom stuff. But when we moved up to Tennessee, um, we weren't here all but maybe 2 or 3 months, and I caught wind that a band that I had, I think, a CD and I know I had a 7 inch, was playing in their hometown in Knoxville, and for me that was a 3 hour. It was work night. I drive up there, lose an hour, and then gain the hour back. So I went on a school night, got home I think like 3:30 in the morning, but I got to see Place Skulls for the first time. And,
Nice.
um, it was, of course, Victor lead, Tim Tomaselli, if I'm pronouncing his name correct, was the drummer, and Cornelius. I can't remember his name, but he was on bass, and he's since passed away a few years ago. But he's been in a bunch of bands. He was in Revelation and a few others. So it was a tight group. But I don't know if it was that I don't know if it was that year. I'd have to go back and look to see. Was it 2005 when I went? I think it was 2004. So in the next year that they released their third full length, and so I remember picking this up initially on CD. The album cover was not as clear as this. I think
Hmm.
reworked one for the record because you really couldn't make out what was on the cover, but just dark, very gothic-y, doomy kind of imagery, the cross on the.
Hmm.
I knew Victor at that point. I wasn't a Christian when I first saw them, but I knew that Victor and most of the band members were. And when I yes, it blew me away because I knew of his connection to Pentagram. I had heard that,
Hmm.
obviously, Relentless and a bunch of the other ones, but uh, the song "Darkest Hour" on here just absolutely way. I could put that song on loop and just listen to it over and over. Guitar tone, it's so thick, and Victor Griffin plug in, played like 2 or 3 notes, and I would know. I mean,
Right.
I put him up there with Iommi. I don't know. Maybe Victor has to work at it, but he makes it appear like it's effortless. I have no idea what kind of amps he uses, pedals, but he's got a very, very distinct sound. And this, I love everything he does, but this is by far my favorite. I even have to hold this higher than the pentagram stuff. Of course, having yes, there's Christian tones to it and some lyrics, but it's not. I think Changed Heart is like the only track, and it's the last song on here that's okay. Yeah, that's little Christian-y, but the
They're
Black
not a very they're
Bar,
not a very they're not a very preachy band,
no,
but
no,
it's their stuff is real subtle in there, but it's intentional, that's there, but it's not like so much that it puts anybody off from listening to it.
yeah, exactly. Anybody you can put it in. Now their EP they did, I think from their second album with Wino that apparently the label didn't want the Christian songs on there. They ended up releasing them separately, and I think there was a third day cover, "Consuming Fire." That's great too. Really, really great EP. So yeah, that one originally that wasn't what I picked. I've got another one I'll show later, and I was wait a second, I can't I can't do a best of Doom in the 2000s without having that one. So
Right. Yeah. I'm glad that a few minutes ago you mentioned Melvins, because that's where I have them in my collection, is my Doom section,
yeah.
for being kind of the purveyors of the sludge movement in the late 80s, like 88, 89 into the early 90s. Um, so
Oh,
I
amazing
really
guitar player.
yeah, I really wanted to show that one, and I really also wanted to do Alice in Chains Dirt, because I feel like, to me, I felt like after Facelift, those next couple like full length records with Lane were so sludgy, um, that I had them actually in that section, and then I ended up putting in alternative metal. I kind of got talked out of it. Um, but my 2010s, this one came out in 2012, and it's another debut, of course. And this one, is basically, they're probably one of a handful of bands that are the definition of funeral doom. And that is the Call the Wretched Sea by Ahab. All 5 Ahab records I have were purchased from Ron again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's very much a nautical guy as he is a doom guy, and this thing is. I could have really picked any of the ones that I had that would have qualified. I just decided to grab the first one. Um, but like them in Mournful Congregation as well. Um, and there's another band, Shape of Despair. I thought about pulling one of theirs, but I think this one, this album and band have been the one that has grabbed me the most.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check them out. I've heard of the band. I love the band name. Ahab is a great. Yeah, it kind of makes me think of like Mastodon when they did their
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll have to try and track down some of their out. There's a lot of those newer bands, from if that was from the 2010s that yeah, just I've split by. I've tried to catch some of them. Um, trying to think. Kahamis, I'm not sure how to pronounce their name. They're not strictly Doom, but definitely Doom overtones.
Yeah.
Oh shoot. I know there's a few, a few of the bands that I've at least picked up one or two just to, give them a whirl. But uh,
And these guys are from Germany as well.
okay, yeah, definitely. We'll give them a check out. All right. So my pick from the 2010s is not an earlier release from this band, but I was aware of the band, I don't know, probably 10 years prior to this. And it was a band that was on Metal Blade Records for a while. And I think I had picked up their second full length, but this is one that I just think track by track, which there's not a lot of them, there's only four. And I know most of their albums usually have just like any 3 to maybe 5 songs, which they're epics.
Right.
Yob.
Mm-hmm.
So later, a lot of their pressings are now off of Relapse. So this is a re-release on Relapse, but this one is just fantastic. A little bit maybe atmospheric. Um, I don't know if Neurosis would be the right comparison. I mean, they're Doom. There's a little bit of stoner, but a lot more maybe like sleep influence. Just a little. I would drone, but maybe
Yeah. Yeah, definitely not drone. They're not like Sun O.
No, no, but there's points in the songs where you get that guitar tone a little bit, but they don't they don't go on with anything for any length.
Right.
Singers I've always liked. I think Mike Schmidt might be his name, but kind of unique. When I first heard them, and that was on their The Illusion of Motion, which was on Metal Blade. It kind of reminded me of more metal Geddy Lee. I don't hear that now. I don't know why I thought that, but maybe just because he was unique. Couldn't compare him to anybody else in a metal band. Um, but yeah, this is a great one. Of course, they've got a few I think that have come after, and a whole bunch that came prior to.
And they're very melodic for that style of doom too.
Yeah, yeah, that's a band I would love to see. I know that they've come through Tennessee before, and I think last time I missed them. I'd like to catch them.
When you get a chance, check out the band Telekinetic Yeti if you haven't.
Telekinetic
Yeti.
Yeti. I think I've seen their first online before, for sale somewhere.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could probably name quite a few, but let's pour into the honorable mentions, shall we?
Yes, yes.
All right. This next band I saw open for High on Fire. And it was a very interesting show because the first band was Doom. The second band was, I don't even know what you want to call it. Then there was Municipal Waste. And then there was High on Fire. I went mainly for Municipal Waste, honestly. But the band that opened is from Los Angeles. They have two studio full lengths out and an EP. I have the debut EP and I have the EP and the self-titled debut, and that's Early Moods. These guys, like immediately as soon as they started playing, there was old Sabbath vibes, Saint Vitus type vibes. There's a solo in one of the songs that's very reminiscent of the one off the Iron Maiden debut, but it fits in what they do. These guys are just excellent. This is off of Riding Easy Records.
Okay. What's the name of the band again?
Early Moods.
Early Moods.
Yeah. So I saw them in 2021. I don't think the vinyl came out in 2022 because that's what it has here. But I know I saw them in 21 because we had just been in the house for about a month when I went to go see that show. But if if you enjoy Early Sabbath and Saint Vitus, you need to check this band out.
Yep. All right. So one of my honorables was what I originally pulled before I pulled the Place of Skulls. And this album, I can remember being part of a do metal website that had a message board, and a lot of the guys from the bands in and around Maryland and D.C., Baltimore would go on there and kind of got a feel, got to know through the internet, some more
Mhm.
bands. And my wife and I actually got to one of the festivals, uh, Doomer Be Doomed in Baltimore shortly after we moved to Tennessee. So I was picking up on all sorts of bands. Well, there's a guy, I can't remember his name, in a band from England, and he was pushing this new album. It was a band had already released something, but he was claiming this was going to be one of the best doom albums of the decade. And he was pre-ordering it. He had his own label, so it was being released on his label. But of course, getting anything even back then from the UK, it was expensive. I could have spent $75 for this. And of course, they had a Die Hard edition, so you get sometimes you get
Mhm.
a back patch or something. And I don't remember if we got to hear any of the tracks ahead of time, but this was Watching from a Distance, Warning,
Warning. Yep.
and only 5 songs. And I believe this one's double, yeah, double vinyl, and just uh different. I don't know. I mean, the singer, it's mournful, dirgy, but not like My Dying Bride. Um,
Right.
Granted, there's no violin. Different than Place of Skulls. It's, I guess you could say, it's very UK-ish. It's not.
Yeah.
Here's the other band, the guy who owned the label, and his band Solstice was a little bit more epic doom, and maybe much more epic metal than it was doom. But these guys, pure doom, just
Yep.
very I don't know. I mean, I could see where somebody would listen and be like, "Oh, that's depressing," but then it could also go the other way where you're like, "Okay, it's somebody kind of working through their emotions, and
Yep.
not, it's not like suicide metal. They're not,
Right. Yeah.
to promote
It's
suicide."
not suicidal, depressive black metal for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. No, this is just Watching from a Distance, Footprints, Bridges, Faces, Echoes. That's
Who did was it? Was it 40 Watt Sun that they basically became after?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
right. And I don't know, I think it was two of the members, and I think they
Yeah.
were just trying to, yeah, because that band's not terribly different sound-wise.
Mhm.
It's not the first album that I picked up. So, yeah, that one I still, even Ron pulled that out the other night. We weren't doing doom, but I can't remember why, but he held it up. I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's."
Yeah.
I didn't wanna
I
give away.
heard that. I heard that album because of him. Because he was like, "Man, I got this great new doom band. You've got to check it out." I was like, "All right, fine." And I think I YouTubed it. I think this was before you had actual like um subscribing streaming apps and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I think that came out like, what was that, 2015, 2016, something like that.
What's that? The streaming apps?
No, no. Hold on. It had to have been like 2013 when that record came out.
The one that I just showed?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could have been. Let's see. And of course, the CD might have been out a little bit before.
Right.
Oh my goodness, this was recorded in 2006.
And I wanted to say 2006. I don't know why I didn't say it.
That doesn't mean that's when it made it onto vinyl though, but that's at least when they recorded it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not seeing anything on the actual record, and they don't have a copyright date on it. So yeah, I'm thinking I definitely got this after we moved here. So we're talking 2000. It could have been 2009, 2010. So a couple of years after it was recorded, that the it was available on record, because that was I got the original original.
Mhm. All right, my other honorable mention. I'm staying in the traditional Doom style, although you wouldn't be able to tell it because of the album cover. Um, this is a band from Italy called 1782, and this is from the Graveyard. This is one of two albums I have from them, and like I said, it's traditional Doom as it gets.
Uh-huh.
Um, just excellent stuff right here. This is the later of the two albums I have. This one came out in 2020. The other one I have, I think it came out in 2012, maybe. Um, and on the back it says, "We suggest you play this record at the highest volume possible," and I concur. You need to. This is for a relatively newer band. This is some fantastic traditional doom.
Cool. I've never heard of
And
that.
the Italians generally do metal very well.
Yeah, I've got of course Black Widow Records was out of Italy, and a
Mhm.
lot of, the Pentagram stuff, the later stuff with Joe Hasselvander came out on that, and the band The Black and Death SS, even though I don't know how much they weren't. I guess they were a little bit more gothic-y but Paul Chain, who came from Death SS, he did some straight up doom stuff during the '90s. So yeah, Italy's a good place to find some obscure metal.
And this is on the Heavy Sight Sounds records. I think their first one's on that same label too, or the first one that I have. I don't know how many they have out.
Well, this is cool. I'm getting a bunch of bands from you that I'm not really aware of, or at least two that I've heard of, but not checked out. So no, we got another one to add to the list. So this one, just you already showed one of their albums, but as far as 1980s, that again, that was hard. I couldn't pass up the Pentagram, but it was difficult not pulling out a Candlemass. And the first one is awesome. I love that one. But I got into the band when Messiah was the
Yep.
lead. Um, just there's nobody else that sounds like him. Uh,
At all.
or well, I don't know, maybe there's others who look like him, because I can think of some other lead singers that have the
Yeah.
big throw that he had.
Me and Ron and I one time were discussing which one was uglier, Messiah or uh, Grimmett from Grim Reaper,
Mm,
because they could have easily been twins.
yeah, yeah.
That
all
that's my
all from
favorite Candlemass record right there. Actually, Nightfall.
Yeah, this one, another, just like track by track, it's hard to. Dark are the Veils of Death, Bewitched, Gothic Stone, At the Gallows End, just great. Such great album. And even when he came back into the band for the self-titled one,
I
the
Yeah,
cover, um Ron's selling that one, so I contacted him today, and he set
oh
that for me. There's still a bunch of other ones there, so I've
yeah.
got a
I
bunch.
was trying to grab that one.
I was like, I've got it on CD, but I was like, I've got to have that one on record. That one, I need to be able to hear that one on my turntable.
Yeah, I've got Epicus and Tales of Creation on CD. I've got Nightfall, the one that wasn't supposed to be a Candlemas record. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it.
Yeah, I've got that on CD.
And I've got their Sun Evil Sun. I've got on vinyl as well.
Mm. Yeah, I'm missing a bunch of the more later day Candlemass stuff, but I've got most of the stuff leading up to the white
Mhm.
titled one, and then a few after. When Rob Lowe joined, I got the first two that he did. That was another band hard to pass up. Solitude Aeternus.
Ernest. Yep.
Just I love everything they've done.
Unfortunately, I have nothing by, and that's a damn shame.
Yeah, they they I don't know. There was a long spell. There wasn't. They were re-releasing some of their stuff, but with newer, updated covers, which I don't like. I want to have the original, even if
Yeah.
it's not album cover. But I don't know. It was maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Music on Vinyl did, I think, two. I think they re-released the first one, second one, maybe the third one too. So I spent a little bit of money.
Oh
Um,
yeah, you want to.
called probably between $30 and $40 per record, but I had, especially the first one, I had to have that one on vinyl. Oh,
Yeah.
back to
Another.
I wanted to say real quick, going back to Candlemass, have you ever listened to Memento Mori?
Yes. Messiah's band afterwards.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't have the first one. I've heard it. I've got the second one, and especially that first track. I just it's so good. The atmosphere of that song. They've not been repressed. They're on Black Mark, the same label that did all the Bathory albums,
Mm.
and for some reason that company has never re-released them on CD, or I don't think they've ever been on record. So hopefully someday somebody will pick up on those and do a pressing.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to pick up some Count Raven as well.
Yeah.
That's another band we definitely could have listed for the '90s.
Yep. Yeah. And then some of the spin-off bands, well, not spin-off, but Reverend Bizarre. I got pretty
Mm.
heavy into them,
Yeah.
and Gates of Slumber. And then offshoot of Reverend Bizarre and St. Vitus was Lord, and they've got 4 albums out. The original singer of Count Raven. I can never remember how to pronounce his last name. It begins with a C. And then the guitar player from Reverend Bizarre. It's good stuff. And then there's all the Maryland bands and the from the DC area,
Mhm.
Earth Ride and Iron Man and Revelations and Asylum, which eventually became Unorthodox. Um, Further up north, a little bit later, you had um, Orodrone and Pale Divine. I think was also from I think closer to DC. Uh, there's others. I've got so many Doom bands on CD. Like when I got back into vinyl, I was I was eating up everything and anything Doom. And then I kind of got burnt out on it, and then slowly I've been going back and
So
Blood Farmers, another band. I think they're from maybe Massachusetts. Not very well known, but really, really good. Another band. Their imagery, kind of the whole serial killer horror type thing, but
mhm.
really good tunes, good music.
Another UK band for you. I don't know if you've heard these guys, but if if epic stoner doom was a genre, these guys basically created it. Green Lung.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
These guys are fantastic. I love this record. This is this Heath and Land, and this came out in 2020 something, maybe 2020. No, 2023 on Nuclear Blast. Fantastic album. And of course, a band named Green Lung should have a green record.
Yeah.
But you got one guy in the middle, kind of looking a little Amish.
Yep. Good Amish out there. And that band makes me think of Electric Wizard and of course
Yeah.
Cathedral and some of those
Oh
other
yeah. Absolutely.
really,
Yeah.
really
Yeah. Cathedral was real hard not to include. But I felt like '80s because I know that first record came out in '89, I think,
yeah.
for Equilibrium. But I already knew I was going Candlemass for the '80s, and I
Hmm.
already knew I was going to go with Disembowelment for the '90s. So they just didn't make their way in.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we ultimately could have done like a top 3 or I don't know, maybe a top 5 for each decade and stretched it out, but I think that
Yeah, been
that
here till tomorrow.
yeah, I don't know that everybody else, that could have been done over a period of time, but I don't know. I don't know. There's doom metal. There's folks out there, they're either into it or they don't want to have anything to do with it. And I
Yeah,
don't understand that. They think like, oh, they're all carbon copies of Black Sabbath, and that's I
not
don't-
true. Yeah, and the funny thing is that even the most hardcore thrash fans, it's like a lot of those thrash bands had some doomy songs, like Metallica has Leper Messiah,
Mhm.
among other songs. The thing that should not be on the same album. And then you've got a band like Overkill who basically did an entire Sabbath tribute album with I Hear Black,
Yep.
you know. To me, uh, the slow and heavy thing has always been there since Sabbath. Um, you know, but like the drone stuff, I can't get into. You hit one note and it lasts for 3 minutes, and
Mm.
then you maybe hit another note. Like we went to see Crowbar a couple years ago, and one of the bands playing was a band called Primitive Man out of Colorado,
Yep, I've heard of them.
and their stuff's okay, but it's not a band I like. When we saw them live, I got bored real quick. Like a straight up doom show really isn't something I'm probably going to go to because I'm gonna, especially if I got to stand the whole time. Like, no, I'd rather be able to sit in a stool, kind of bob my head a little bit as it's kind of churning along, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, because when I go to shows, I'm there to stand and headbang and stuff. So, if I were to ever see a band like, St. Vitus or, Cathedral, something like that, I definitely want to be able to sit down, you know, the songs that are, 8, 9, 12 minutes long.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where bands like Pentagram are not as bad because there's a little bit more 70s, they're a little more retro, so they've got, shorter songs for the
Yeah,
most part. And
yeah,
you
like 4 or 5 minutes at like the most.
yeah. And there's not, somebody standing on the stage in the corner in their cape and hood and
Right.
like Sun O where and you got all the fog, you barely see anybody on stage anyway.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I want a little bit of movement on the stage. It's bad enough when the audience is just standing there, kind of stone still, but you need
Right.
to have somebody on stage running around doing a little something.
That's where Ozzy comes into play because he was always doing something.
Yeah, yeah. Ozzy running rampant on the stage. So Joe, who I've mentioned before, who I get a lot of my music from, had contacted me and a bunch of other guys a few weeks back when the Maiden concerts were being promoted, and wanted to know
Mhm.
if a bunch of us wanted to meet up in North Carolina to go to the show. So I was like, yeah, sure. And he was trying to get as many of the wives to go because his wife was going to go, and I was like, yeah, I don't see my wife wanting to go. So I came home from work and mentioned it to her, and she's like, I want to go. I'm like, okay, you're Iron Maiden, Megadeth, and well, she's been listening to Iron Maiden now. She's on her Amazon. And
Mhm.
so the other night we went out to eat, and I'm sitting there. All of a sudden, I hear Maiden from somewhere in time. I'm naming off the songs, singing, and she's decided she likes Iron Maiden. I mean, we've only been together for 22 and apparently I guess I didn't play enough Iron Maiden, but yeah, I mean just the topical songs. I Alexander the Great came on the other night. I was like, yeah, this is how I learned about Alexander the Great. Um,
Right.
and Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. I played that one I played Live After Death last week, the live,
Mhm.
and just to kind of show her what the stage show looked like back in '85. So yeah, she's ready now. we got to wait a year, but
Yeah. Yeah. My wife was basically on it. She's like, we're going. The funny thing was, so the first time my wife and I actually physically met, we had our first date. Um, After we had, went our separate ways, and I was leaving, and I'm going down the road, and I had texted her, and I was like, what's your? Because we uh, talked a little bit about music. We had talked a whole lot. We talked a little bit about music beforehand. And I was like, just kind of throwing it out. I'm like, what's your favorite Iron Maiden album? And I was very surprised when she came back with Peace of Mind. I was like, she knows Iron Maiden.
yeah,
Because if she would have come up with something like Number of the Beast, which is probably like the most well known, and like I said before on my last weekly roundup, I think the album gets a bad rap because Run to the Hills was played 1,000 million times, but I mean, there's so many other great songs on that
yeah.
record.
You
You
could say
know,
Wild, Saint, or Running Free. There are
right,
there's a bunch of songs that you just say, yeah, I've heard a million times before, and
right. But look,
um,
but even like Running Free, like still with anything off that first album, like I don't care if I hear it a million times. Like to me, it's as great as it was as the first
yeah,
time I ever listened to it.
it just
But the fact that she
untouchable.
went with one that most non-metal women who want to try to impress metal guys went with, because both are gonna be like, oh, well, Number of the Beast is probably the most. She went with like Peace of Mind, and I'm like, okay, I
Or
think we could
Metallica.
make. I think we might be able to make this work.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be the same thing with Metallica. Some girl that went through the '90s be like, oh yeah, Enter Sandman and
Right? Yeah.
Nothing Else Matters, and okay, yeah, but
Yeah.
out a little
But
bit
it,
earlier. What
But
about
but instead, she kicks
crap?
him with like, "I really love Call of Cthulhu." All right, all right.
Yeah, or yeah, little Cliff Burton's bass solos. All right, anybody
Yeah,
that
takes
Cliff
one.
Burton is okay in my book.
I'm really interested to see how Dave's Ride the Lightning cover is going to come out.
Yeah, that'll be
Because I know he said there's some changes to it and stuff like that. So I'm interested to see how that. But the funny thing is, I'm like, when you did the first record and you put out Mechanics, which was the original version of Four Horsemen,
hmm
like it takes you 40 plus years to do something from record two.
Yeah, and I
Right,
find
right.
I actually I would rather him do this. I'd rather him do a modern, cover version than him to decide in concert, oh, I'm going to go back and do all the Metallica songs that I was a part of instead of doing the Megadeth stuff.
Right.
I want to hear
the
he's
the thing is
got
though the thing is though um this will actually be the third Metallica song he's done something with, because on The World Needs a Hero, the last track is called Win, and it's a combination of Am I Evil and Call of Cthulhu.
huh. I don't know how I never picked up on that, or maybe that's one of those albums that I never really got into. So
Yeah, I was just excited that it wasn't Risk.
yeah, yeah, that was one I still don't own that. I think I only have some of the tracks on the um what is it, Arsenal's, whatever the 3 CD box set was that they did. There was
Oh
some,
yeah, the Arsenal Megadeth.
yeah, there's some
Yeah,
track.
yeah, he's got another one. The Warheads on Foreheads, I think,
Yeah,
might
I need to
be.
look that up.
Yeah.
Figure once I've
The
got
funny thing is, my
a
only Megadeth shirt is from that tour because I saw him. I saw Megadeth on that tour with Iced Earth opening, and so I have a tour shirt from that. Um,
Gigantor, wasn't that when Iced Earth was touring with them for the
no,
Gigantor?
Gigantor. The first Gigantor had them and Testament, and I want to say there was like an industrial band with them as well. Because Dave's always kind of, well, not always, but in the early 2000s, he was putting together some packages that didn't make any sense. Like on one of his tours, he had Three Doors Down as the opener.
Oh,
He was
wow.
like, who wants to sit through, 3 thrash sets? Let
Mm.
them have, something different or whatever. So, but I kind of feel like he was like, we're only going to get some of the women to come with Three Doors Down is going to be on the bill, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Have you pre-ordered the new Megadeth yet?
I No, I have
I,
not.
sure. I've been kind of not sure which variant I want to go with.
I
Sometimes
hate
I go with black.
pre-orders because one, that means I paid for a record, but I got to wait months for it to come.
Yeah. I think
I've
that was
seen,
January, though. It's not too far off.
but I've seen also a lot of situations, like Accuser being one, where people pre-order the album and they haven't gotten it for like 6 months after the release date.
They're not going to get it. I don't I don't know who that company is that did the Accuser, but even I think Scott ended up having to buy another copy. He had to go, I think, on Discogs. He had to find somebody selling it and paid a significant amount of money, and that was after he had pre-ordered it.
Yeah,
So,
and that was the vinyl. I think the CDs were decently able to be gotten, but the vinyl was like almost like impossible to be able to get sent out.
well, even the CDs, I don't know if they ever showed up on Amazon. I won't be surprised if Rocks Records or Matt from the what is it? Not Girder, but the other back
Overstock.
that they'll probably try and get the rights to that one, even if it may be a year or two, because they
Yeah,
did about
they put Boone's has put out a lot of the Accuser stuff.
yeah. There's one of the later albums that that was on Metal Blade that it wasn't, I think it was a limited pressing. I've not been able to get a copy. So yeah, I'm looking at Walmart right now and they've got the newer Accuser, Rebirthless,
Yeah.
just under $22.
Oh,
They've
I mean
got the
that's not bad.
vinyl.
That's not bad though.
I mean, it's an import, so I'd rather pay that for a record, but they still have the record for pre-order at $37. They say that it's delivering December 12th, but I don't buy it. Now, the good
You
thing
know what?
with Amazon is you're not out your money. I mean, they'll
Right. Yeah.
still get it. They reimburse you. So I may go ahead and jump on that just to see if it actually comes through. But I don't know if that pre-order's been up for 9 months. I'm going to be low man on the totem pole.
Yeah, because I had ordered when the Cavalier Boys were re-recording um the first two Sepultura releases, Morbid Visions and Devastation. I actually originally ordered them through Nuclear Blast, and I never got an email of. I got the email, we accepted your payment. I never got an email of when it was coming, when it was, the anything. So like 2 months went by, I get like no emails from them.
Uh-huh.
So I end up just like basically putting it in as a fraudulent charge on my account, and then went on Amazon. Amazon, and got it for cheaper than what I was going to pay for Nuclear Blast, because I think it was going to be like for both and shipping it was like 60 something, and I
Mhm.
both got them both on Amazon for like $42. Um, the only thing is I've ever pre-ordered were when the Melancholy EP came out on vinyl for the first time from Iced Earth,
Mhm.
because that was being done on um was it Girder? I think it was Girder.
Yeah.
And the uh the Petra reissues of Beyond Belief, Unseen Power, and Wake Up Call were being done.
Yep.
And that was on Girder, and I ordered those.
Yeah, I've done a lot of pre-orders through those companies. A lot of the
Yeah, yeah. Girder's really reputable. I have a hard time, and what really sucks is it's like I have no faith in the record label that's sending out the pre-orders because, like I said, and it wasn't even a pre-order. The album had already been out for like maybe a week with the Cavalera stuff,
yeah,
and it's like you're the label, like you should be more on top of it than any other.
yeah. I got burned. I think it was pre-COVID, or it could have been post-COVID. I don't know, but it was Napalm Records, and now granted, the purchases were here in the States, but everything gets shipped. I believe from Austria. Um, but it was the Sodom EP. Now I had ordered at that point their most recent full length. That was already released, and then it was a pre-order for the EP, which Blumenhagel. I don't know
Yeah,
how
yeah.
that was pronounced in German, but it was, I think, a red variant, and it was, I don't know, it was like maybe a 4 month, 5 month, 6 month, I don't know. Nothing happened. Didn't hear anything. I'm finally like, wait a second, wasn't that supposed to be out already? I go onto
Hmm.
the website trying to access see if there's an account, what's going on. I knew I was going to have to wait for the full length. I had to hound them. They finally sent out the full length, and I never heard anything. I don't know if I was reimbursed. It might have been only like $20, but um, I know at least another person who does videos that he had also mentioned on a message board, that he was waiting on his. He wasn't hearing anything back from the company either. And I can remember messaging him close to a year, being like, "Have you heard anything? Have you gotten your record?" And he said no. And I go on to Discogs and I look to see if there's anybody in the state selling it, and they're all being sold out of Germany. So they never ship them over here, because none of the dealers that I deal with, like Hell's Headbangers and Shadow Kingdom and all those, uh,
Yeah.
Amazon has it on CD, which I'm probably at this point I should just grab it on CD, but um, probably never going to see it on vinyl.
Yeah, the Hell's Headbangers order that I did a while back when I got what was it, Expunged and Speed Claw. That came very quick, like after I had paid for it. Like it was like shipped the next day, and I think like
Good.
3 days later I got it. The
Yep.
thing about Nuclear Blast is I don't remember what country. It's a European country for sure. That's the parent company.
Yeah.
But when I was contacting them about the Cavalera records, they were like, "Oh, well, the Nuclear Blast USA site is down at the time." I'm like, that
Mm,
is nothing. Like that should have nothing to do
no,
with no. Like if their site's down,
pick up the
then your
phone.
site needs to be doing something about it.
Yeah.
And that's when I went ahead and put in the fraudulent charge with my bank and got my money back. And the next day, for less than what I paid for it through the label, which generally the labels are generally going to be a little bit cheaper than when you're buying it retail anywhere. And so I have yet to ever try to go through Nuclear Blast again. Um, so sometimes you just have those lessons learned, and sometimes you got to eat the money. But I didn't have to eat the money that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's but you got to pay attention a lot too, because I burned myself a couple times because um
You
I
forget
bought
order.
huh.
Have you ever forgotten that you made an order? Like you bought something and then you just kind of blanked out, forgot that you.
Oh no, I always remember that I ordered something because I'm
I write.
anticipating it.
I keep it on my computer. If I order something, I put it
Yeah,
in.
but
Especially the pre-orders.
I've screwed myself a couple of times on eBay because I didn't completely pay attention. So when I first started collecting, I I know, and to this day, I thought I was buying the vinyl of the first Danzig record,
Mm,
and then I get a package, that shows up in a small envelope, and it was the fucking CD.
I've had that before. At
And
least one.
I was like, wait, oh man. But then, so the next time I burned myself with not paying attention, I had bought for those about to rock, and it didn't have the cover. It was just the record. And I was like, wait a minute. And then I went back and I saw. I'm like, damn, it does say no cover. And then I thought I was buying on two separate occasions. I thought I was buying a record and actually got cover art instead. The first one,
Mm.
well, the second one was the first Faith No More album, We Care a Lot, and it was just fucking cover art, which is somewhere here on my wall.
Uh-huh.
And the other one was I think Slide It In from Whitesnake, and I had two cover arts. Wow, with no record. And I ended up giving one of those to a friend of mine. So it was like, okay, I really have to pay attention and read
Yeah.
every word on these descriptions. Because
I'm glad
sometimes, like when you have
that.
that list of things down and you just hit on one, you're like, "Oh, I can't believe this is only like $8," and then
Yeah.
you realize why it was $8 because it wasn't the record.
Yeah. I'm glad people do that because, obviously there's times where you've destroyed your album cover, a spill or the cat started chewing on it or whatever, or it just comes in crappy condition and you got that beautiful vinyl that doesn't have a mark on it. So occasionally, yeah, you're able to place it or vice versa where the
Right.
sleeve is
And
great
and,
record.
and these weren't even album covers. One of them was promotional art. The
Uh, yeah,
one was,
that
and
they
Faith No
hey,
More was like an insert from the record.
yeah. That's why
Yeah,
people that'll say read carefully, album jacket only, and make it before you even get to the name of the band.
yeah.
Put the warning there. Let the person.
Fortunately for me, I had went to a pawn shop a couple years later and found a copy of For Those About to Rock with the cover. And so then a buddy of mine who's helped me with uh, home projects and car projects and stuff. As part of payment, I gave him the record that didn't have a cover, but he was, happy to receive it. And because he was just basically starting his collection. He may have had like five at the time or something like that. So he was cool with getting that. And then I had given him Ron had sent me a package years ago, probably right around the time I went to the Municipal Waste High and Fire show, and it was a three record box set of from ACDC that had um, High Voltage, Dirty Deeds, and Power Rage on it. And it had the paper sleeves that with the album art on it. And so I gave the Dirty Deeds one to a friend of mine because I already had a copy with the actual hardcover of
Mhm.
Dirty Deeds. Um, and in retrospect, I probably should have given him that one so I could have had the set kind of completed, even though the Powers wasn't like immediately after Dirty Deeds.
Mhm.
But sometimes you end up with those like you like I know I ordered a record. And why is there a CD size envelope in the mailbox?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they're done that. Just an oops.
yeah. That was a very angry oops that I had.
Mm.
But
I
but
didn't
then
find.
and the funny thing is now that I'm collecting CDs, I did actually buy the Danzig CD. But at the time I wasn't like trying to buy CDs since I was like just records, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I ended up sending it to a friend of mine because he didn't have it. So I was like, well, I'll send it to you. It wasn't like I paid a like fortune for it or whatever, but
Speaking of Danzig, while we're on the topic, I did recently another bootleg. It says Plan 9, but it is definitely not an original because the originals are who knows how many hundreds of
oh
dollars. I had to
oh
get
yeah.
It's not translucent, so opaque, but kind of a like a strawberry red. But I figured that the only thing that would have been better would have been like an orange, kind of an orange splatter. But
Yeah,
I
the
lucked out.
things to me that sometimes don't make sense when you have colored vinyl is when you get a colored vinyl that doesn't have any of the
Yeah,
colors from the album cover.
that's
Like
why
Adam,
that's why I'm happy with this one because green or turquoise or
right?
minutia or whatever. Yeah, no, I that I yeah, that just
Like
doesn't. That just
my copy of Doomsday for the Deceiver, the vinyl is green. There's like maybe 3% of that album cover was green, and that's like in the eyes of whatever that is on the cover. Like,
mhm.
okay, you just should have just went with black or clear at this point.
Yep. I've passed on buying some records before, especially like relapse records where I'm looking at the variant and I'm like, I don't like that. Now granted, you can't always tell what it really looks like from their mock-up. So I'll
Right.
go to Discogs and then pull up that variant to see what somebody's actual picture looks like. And there's been some I've been like, yeah, I'm not gonna pay $30 when I don't I know it's about the music, but yeah, if I'm gonna try and get a variant, I want it one that if it's yeah, if I have to go with black, I'll go with black. But if it's gonna have
Right.
a color theme, I want it to go with something to do with the album.
Right. Like I love this Souls to Deny
Yeah,
splatter
I
here.
picked one too. I picked
That
up that
is,
one.
I mean,
Because
there's not really any blue in the album cover itself, but that brown and that white kind of really go
yeah,
with the
well,
album cover.
even without the blue, it's still for whatever reason it does. It seems to go
Right.
match
Like
up with that.
I'll show you one real quick that made no damn sense to me.
That's another theme that we could do at some point. We could, pull out some unique variants of albums that we either, just something unique that maybe we haven't seen on another record, or something that just really goes
Right.
well with the album cover.
So I've got the 30th anniversary of this one.
Yeah, me too. Is that the camouflage? Oh, yours is a little different than what I have. I think.
Yeah,
I think.
I would have definitely gone for camouflage if I had known that was. I picked this up in the record store. And I was just happy to see that it was there, and I
Yeah.
picked it up. So I mean, it was just like. But and then when I opened it up and pulled the record, I was like, "What in the hell is this? This is like no."
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, it's the music part that counts. But it was just like this does not match like at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
got mine I picked up a couple of years ago, and mine's the camo green, which I thought that was kind of cool. But Megaforce, they've re-released some albums just out of the clear blue. Um, they did Fistful of Metal, so that one's popped up a few times recently in the last few years. Of course, they did the MOD, the first MOD, but they changed the cover. They made like an anniversary, and I don't. Again, if they changed the cover, I'd rather go with an OG copy than I don't want some goofy updated cover that just isn't.
yeah, because once again, I have the 30-year anniversary.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I bailed
And
on.
the
I,
record looks like a goddamn Pokemon ball.
yeah, yeah, red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
Patriotism, but not when I think MOD.
Right. I mean, yeah, the USA part's on here, but it's just kind of like okay. Um,
Does it sound all right?
I mean, it sounds good and everything,
Yeah.
but
Most of the
and I
repress.
don't care really about the colors in it. It's just the fact that that's what it looks like to me is Pokemon,
Yeah,
and I don't even care about Pokemon. I just happen, to. unfortunately know about it.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
The worst vinyl color that I can't stand is that poop brown color, and I've got several of those.
Yeah. I've got a pentagram where it's the second. Oh, what did they call that? There were two versions of it, but yeah, the round two of their material from the 70s, it was just a, like you said, kind of a poop brown. I think that may be the only record I have that's that color. First days, first
Unfortunately, I have more than one.
first days here too. Yep, I got it down as brown vinyl.
Soulfly Ritual, um, Testament Demonic. Those are the two I can remember offhand. I'm pretty sure I've got a few more. Um, One that really doesn't make any sense is my Fabulous Disaster vinyl is like a gold color.
Hmm.
That makes no damn sense. Um,
Yeah, I've got black on that one, but then again, I think mine's the original pressing. All right, having a fuss with the phone here. Battery's getting low. Oh, I got some since our last time that we did a video, just the two of us. I've got some new posters up there on the wall. So let's see. We'll go for a tour back here. See if you recognize Grave Robber. And that is Sacrament, Haunting of Violence. So that's a Christian thrash band, but their original album cover, I guess the record company had decided to go with their version, which I think
yeah.
that's one that Ron got recently. And yeah, and you can't tell. I don't know. It's like
So
devil
this
or
is the
something.
this is the first one I received um, from Rocks Records when they redid it. I think it was
Mm-hmm.
Rocks, and there's
Oh no, crack!
uh,
Dang,
yeah.
I've
So
never seen that.
yeah, so they sent me a
Somebody
replacement,
somebody ran it over.
dude. Like so, the first crack that was in it was actually right in the inner part, right here. Like somebody had took a hit.
Underneath. Wow. So they hit it with the label.
Yeah, I had the funny thing is, I think I actually bought this on eBay. I think Rocks had a few that they were selling on eBay,
Uh-huh.
and I contacted Scott. And I was like, "Hey, don't you work for so and so?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, I showed him the picture when it had rhymed, um, and he was like, "Oh," but then I ended up finding out that's not the first person. I'm not the first person to have that situation
Huh.
with
Wow.
that particular record. So they ended up sending me another copy, and it played just fine. And for a while, I actually had that as wall art. And then sometime early this year, this is one of a few posters that Scott sent me.
Nice.
You
Cool.
don't know how well you can tell back behind me. There's a Deliverance poster back there. Hold on. I better if I just back up.
Yeah, and I'm gonna share out one real quick here. I
Another
got
Sacrament Ultimatum Mass that he sent me.
cool. Yeah, you got a bunch. So here's one I thought about earlier. That was the Place of Skulls that I got autographed from the guys at one of the concerts. I don't have a lot of wall space in this room. I got more posters that are rolled up and not on display.
I got that Ultimatum picture that Scott
Not
signed.
cool. Yeah.
And
That's
Chris Manning. There was a point early, I think it was last year, that between Ron and Scott, I think I spent like over $1,000 on records from the two of them. Ron was getting out of his extreme metal stuff, and Scott was sending me like doubles that he had or stuff that he just didn't get into. Like I got like 3 Enslaved records from him, Terraphobia, Gamacide, and what else did I get? I got a bunch of stuff from the two of them. Got quite a bit of my Suffocation collection from Ron. Um, I was able to complete my bolt thrower collection because I had a couple already. I got finished off my bolt thrower collection. I'm up to date on Carcass because of him. Um, the one thing I don't like about the Carcass, two of the Carcass records, is the sound is very low in the mix.
Oh, that last album. Well, no, it wasn't their last album.
It was Swan Song.
Swan Song. That
And I think artwork is also a little low too.
Yeah, it was the most recent pressing. If you can go further back, if you can get, but they're more expensive. But if you can go back 10 years or farther, you can get good pressings. But that most recent one, now I got Heartwork. I don't know, maybe 6 years ago, and that one was fine. But the other one, it was horrible. I ended up returning it because you could not. It didn't matter how much you turned it up. The mix was, I don't know what they did, but it was bad.
Yeah, terrible. I'm just gonna like get the CD eventually of it, maybe.
Mhm. They'll
But
repress it eventually, and they've got to fix. But I see places still selling it. Like I think Hell's Headbangers still has it for sale, and I'm not going to take the chance buying it until there's a new pressing.
yeah, I kind of feel like if you get that type of pressing of a record, when the next reissue comes out, you should be able to go to wherever that reissue is at and turn your old one in for a new one.
Mm-hmm. And
Like,
it needed to be recalled once they found out that it was, even
yeah,
not every single one. I'm sure it was most of them. They should have just had them resent, sent back over to the UK and
yeah. The
scrapped
funny
it.
thing is, so Ron and I have both ran into an issue, a warping issue. Um, Abstract Reality, I think the EP from Nasty Savage.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah, because so
that
he
that
he ordered a copy.
those were, I
I
think,
ordered a copy. It was warped. He
yeah.
went to the store and bought a copy, and it was warped.
They're all, any of the your best bet with that band is finding an OG copy that was opened originally during the 80s, because the
Mhm.
one, somebody took those and they put them in a storage somewhere, and they were in heat and they warped. So if you're buying one that says sealed, your best bet is not touching it, because I
Yeah,
had this thing. I bought one from Joe years ago, and I can play it, but it's pretty bad. It's, yeah, it's near just,
mhm.
and it
I
I
mean, it sounds
rather
fine,
listen to the CD.
but you could just tell when you pulled it out, like, okay, this is not good.
Hmm.
I have a Tomb Mold record like that, but it sounds fine too.
Dead end.
Um,
There's some dead end. There's some loudness. A lot of the metal blades, if they're sealed, if they're from the 80s and they're sealed, I won't go near them.
right, yeah, because
I
being that compressed with the ceiling and stuff like that doesn't help with it either.
yeah.
That's why one of the things I never keep the shrink wrap at all.
And I haven't had issues with my own stuff, but
Right.
there are, on occasion, if I buy something and I'm like, ooh, it's kind of tight, then yeah, I might go ahead and remove it. But 9 times out of 10, I usually keep the original plastic, and have not had issues. I mean, granted, I've been buying new stuff for 20 plus years now. So don't know what it'll look like in another 10 years, but
Right.
when I pull them out, I check, and I've not had any warping. Anything that's warped, it came warped.
Right.
Oop.
I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not. This is the worst warp I ever got. I don't know if you can tell it by looking at it.
You know, when you first held it up, I saw it. There, it's, yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
So, yeah. So this album doesn't just skip, it fucking jumps.
Yeah.
And so it ended up becoming my what I used to measure to make my dividers out of. And there's all the blackening of the eyes that my wife did.
I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last time we did
I
it.
have plenty of proof. There's a black marker. It happened, and it wasn't me, and it definitely wasn't the dogs, and it wasn't the cat because he wasn't even here yet.
Yeah, you had mentioned that album, and I was like, oh, wait a second. I think I've got. I was like, I think I've got that album. Somebody had given it to me, but no, yours is Against the Wind, and mine is Like a Rock.
Like a rock,
mine's,
yeah.
mine's
No,
not
no.
warped.
Yeah, this is like a rock too. My Against the Wind isn't warped. This is like a rock, yeah. But I maybe I gave the wrong name in that video we did, but
No,
yeah,
no,
I have a copy of Against the Wind. It's fine. And we have a copy of Silver Bullet Live, as a matter of fact, too.
yeah, I might have that. I think I inherited that one from my father. Shout out to Dad if he's watching.
He's
There's
like,
nobody on here watching, but
I gave up 3 minutes into the video. Never
yeah.
send me a link again.
Well, he. I told him last night. I was like, "Oh yeah, I've got a YouTube channel." Not mention that to him. He's like, "Oh, you should, send it to me." I'm thinking, yeah, there's nothing, there's nothing I'm
Like,
gonna be
I don't
talking
think you're
about.
gonna have any interest at all.
No,
There's
that's
there's
definitely
no
not in the Doom.
yeah, there's no Merle Haggard
No,
or
if I
Conway
did,
Twitty.
if we did a ranking of Led Zeppelin, he might, he'd probably watch that for a little while, but
Yeah, Led Zeppelin's one of those bands that's like, I appreciate where they were. Um, but I'm just not a huge fan. Like, I'll listen to them like once in a while. I'll break out one of their records. I'm just not huge on Zeppelin.
when I was in
Um,
high school, they were in my wheelhouse. So there was when I was getting into Alice Cooper and of course all the hair
mhm.
stuff, Zeppelin was high on the ranking because uh, you know, they rocked. I mean, for their time, they were
I mean,
definitely there's a
they
reason
have
why
a
they get.
lot of really good songs, but they also have a lot of not as good songs as well. Like, they're very folksy. Um, Even D. Snyder was like madrigal type tunes. It's like,
Mm, Physical
I'm not.
Graffiti never
I,
really did
and
much
then
for me.
and then some of their most popular songs are ones that they copied. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
Whole Lot of Love wasn't their song. Days of Confused wasn't their song. I'm not even going to go into the what if with Stairway to Heaven because I really don't care. Um, but some of their more their most well known songs weren't even songs they wrote; they just copied, and it was kind of like, to me, um, there was, I think, in the '70s. I don't know much about because I wasn't really alive through most of the '70s. I was born in '79. But I think you had a lot of people that were either in the Sabbath camp or they were in the Zeppelin camp.
Hmm.
And I think if I had been alive if I had been aware of things during that time, I probably would have been in the Sabbath, Deep Purple, Uriah Heep camp. I think to me, there's more layers to that. Not to say that Zeppelin doesn't have a lot great musicianship. I mean, Bonham's probably, in most people's top 5 drummers of all time. Jimmy Page is no slouch. Robert Plant, I mean, he's not one of my favorite vocalists. But John Paul Jones, a great bass player and all. But
Yep.
when I think about like the body of work of Zeppelin versus a Deep Purple or Black Sabbath, even just for those years, and before Bonham passed away, I just don't think Zeppelin holds up enough compared to those other bands for me.
Hmm.
I like them enough that we got a few of their records in our collection, but they're just not something I'm spinning. I'm not spinning Zeppelin once a week like I am like a Priest or a Sabbath or an Iron Maiden or something like that.
I don't spend anything once a week. I got far too much music, so
Yeah,
it, whatever whatever
I do
fits
too,
the
but then
mood.
there's just times where I'm like at work and a riff or a song gets stuck in my head. I'm like, all right, gotta remember to pull that out for when I'm off next because I want to hear it now.
Yeah.
Type thing. I mean, that happens to me way too often. But I understand because I'm like you too. Like I don't want to, and I generally like in my weekly roundup, I try not to have the same band more than once, you know, but sometimes if you got the hankering for it, you got the hankering for it. So I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes like Judas Priest and Sabbath and Maiden and Metallica are staples in Metallica what I grew up with, and then those next three I was kind of like my second grow up phase. So
Hmm. There's going to be a lot of Aiden and Megadeth in my future because I'm trying to. I'm ready for the concert, but I got to make sure my wife is. And Maiden, it's all I guess stuff from like Fear of the Dark back. So
yeah,
there's reason to be getting into the more recent stuff, but that's the stuff I really should be listening to more of because I'm not as familiar
yeah,
with it.
I'm very happy that that's what they're doing with this tour. Because like we've had discussions before. I'm not a huge fan of anything post Brave New World. I mean,
Yeah,
they got a few songs here and there. Well,
that's
what
why
was
I wish
very
they were including Brave New World. I wouldn't mind one or two of those songs
yeah.
being on that list, but that's
I
all.
just was the funniest thing to me about it was my son texting me. He's like, "Dad, Maiden and Megadeth next year." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." And so, like, my wife concocted. I think he probably thinks we're really serious about this. But so, he's recently started learning how to play guitar, and my wife was like, "Hey, tell him he's got to learn a Megadeth song beginning to end if he wants to go. He has like a year to get this figured out." So the series of texts between him and me is like, "Well, do I have to learn everybody's part or just Dave's?" I'm like, "Where do you have a drum set? Where do you have a bass? You don't have those things. Yes, the guitar." And he's like, "Well, I really want to do Peace Sales, but there's a lot of repetition. Could I just learn the solo?" So it's so I think he really does actually think he has to have that done to be able to go.
I
But
think you should have to play
it's just the
Holy
fact that
War.
my 14-year-old son is the one telling me about concerts.
He's trying to make that connection with dad.
Uh, and
That, that's how my dad and I mean, when I was growing up, he was really big into baseball, and it was New York Yankees and da 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 da, and that wasn't my thing. I wasn't the sports guy family, but he introduced me to Zeppelin and the Rolling Stones, and of course, yeah, all the country music, and but yeah, now we can. Even though a lot of what I listen to, he doesn't, but we can, yeah, we talk music and talk movies, and it's good to have some connections with your
right.
father and son connections, things that I'm sure there's lots of folks out there where they've got nothing in common, and it can be awkward.
Yeah, I think the only thing that my dad and I have in common is Jesus. That's literally it.
Mm,
And that didn't really come until I really like came into my own as adult, really needing to focus on that in my life. And then, you know, but I mean, because my dad doesn't listen to the same music I do. He doesn't care about sports. I'm a big sports fan.
mm,
Um, he likes his guns and shooting, and I could care less. Not that not that I care if anybody has guns. I think you have the right for a reason, especially nowadays with everything that's going on. You
Yeah.
know, clap and strap as far as I'm concerned. If you got one, but we just never had any connection like that. So my taste in music came from friends I had in school and MTV.
Yeah. Yeah, my father set the ground, the base, the base for my music, but that was most everything. It was friends, and of course MTV was a big influence. And when I discovered um, Metal Maniac and Hit Parader and old magazines.
I think we started a second video.
Yeah, I'm here. So,
Yeah, we have a new timer up there now.
in the world,
I think we went on for too long on the live. It happened before, I think, on the first one we did.
Hmm.
YouTube
Well,
telling us we talked
that
too
might
much.
be a good ending point here.
Yeah.
They're telling us we went too long.
What'd you
Right,
say?
my person.
My wife said we're worse than women. But we have something interesting to talk about.
Yeah. Fucking metal.
It's not other women.
All right, bro. I think Ron was planning something for next week, but I don't remember anything. I'm sure they'll get something out next week.
Something usually happens about 3 days before the weekend or something like that. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. All right, Tim.
All right, brother. It was an excellent topic.
Yep. Very good. All right. Till next.
Later.
Bye.